world is
In
that?
3, 2, 1. Lewis.
Yeah. What can I do? Huh?
Oh my
What?
goodness! Did you have pinto beans yesterday?
What?
Oh, we're live. You don't have to get all embarrassed.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I
I don't even look like Eric Swalwell.
Look at you. You could never pull off such a professional maneuver. You don't have the embouchure for that. How dare you insult him?
It's hard to hit those high sustained notes.
You really got to work on those. Takes years of practice.
It can be messy.
I think we're live.
Oh, great.
And we're live. Ever since I found out that Leander hates that, I really flex my diaphragm and make that come out as powerfully as I can. We tried it without the boom, man. It just doesn't feel the same. You know what I mean? It feels like low energy Jeb.
So you're saying you got a chronic boom?
I got a chronic boom problem.
You know what? We didn't clap.
Shoot!
We better do that before we forget.
All right, let's
Especially
do
since
some
you had
claps.
that
Ready? Everyone can see the
problem.
sausage here. Hold on a sec here, guys. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hee-hee. There we go. I'm not. Do I have anything in the chat? I don't. My freaking thing is all screwed up. I got no chat. I have no idea why. So if you guys are chatting, unfortunately, I can't see it. Usually we do shout outs here, but let's see if I can do a chat pop out. No? Oh no, that made it worse. much worse. Now it's completely gone. Now I can't see the chat whatsoever. Did it pop out somewhere? Yeah, I got nothing. So sorry guys. I've got nothing in the chat. If
I see the tweet.
do you see some? Oh, you want to tweet? All right, here we go. God,
Actually, there's somebody. Adam Broussard is saying, and I quote, "Where's the tweet?"
Oh, you want the tweet? You guys
He's like
both.
a mind reader.
You guys have one-track minds. Here's your tweet. Here's your little tweet that you've been asking for. There it is, Lewis. If you're wondering why no one's here yet, it's because I didn't send out the tweet. Dare I try to refresh YouTube Studio and see what happens? Oh my goodness. Should I try? I feel like that could really make things worse. But it's telling me that we got a signal going here. But unfortunately, I can't freaking see the chat. I'm going to try it. Wish me luck. We're doing it live. Cross your fingers. Oh no. No, I think it broke it. Are we still live, Lewis? Hold on, wait.
What did you do here? What?
I think it's going to work. There we go. Where's my O'Reilly tie? I can tear that thing off. Shout out to Xavier Campon. Shout out to Adam Broussard. He wants the tweet. You got the tweet. Shout out to Alistair Clark. Hello, governors. Shout out to Ulysses. Shout out to Barry Rose. See, we needed this. And the pop-out. Dude, yeah, the pop-out broke. I usually have the pop-out mode going so I can see it, and that freaked out YouTube. It broke the page. We got Duncan Rennie who says, hey, y'all. Oh, you want the love? You can't handle love. Carlos Meja is here. It's up from Texas where I should be working. Yeah, I should be in Texas. Shout out to Jeff Druin. Okay, we're gonna wait for some more people to shuffle in here. As you can see, we're missing El Caney. R.I.P. I'm gonna miss him, Lewis. But he had a good run.
Retreat in peace.
We'll see if the hospital can bring him back. Maybe he'll be back on next week. They got the defibrillators charging up. They're gonna bring him back. So he had some things that he needed to take care of. He didn't even tell us that he was gonna be gone for the show. He just didn't show up. So,
Ghost protocol enabled.
Classic Caney. You got Caney'd. Shout out to Chase McLean. Man, we have got a freaking big show here today. I'll be honest. Last night I was looking through the show notes and I was depressed, Lewis. I was like, there's just nothing. There's really just nothing. And then we had some developments that started happening, and we've got some big stories this week. So I think it's going to be an exciting show. And out of the grave, from completely disappearing to being a legitimate story again, is the Apple TV story, or the Apple car story, not TV. And this is a crazy one. I don't know if you guys have heard about this yet, so we'll be talking about that. You know what? Barrow says he's busy repairing his iPhone with all those new parts he can buy. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Leander's got a whole soldering station and
Whole
very
roll of duct tape.
yeah, very, very talented electrical engineer. He's going to fix your iPhone.
Yeah.
He'll fix it all right. Yeah. He'll fix that thing. Anyone get their $1,000 Apple iPhone repair kit? Yeah, that's the one that Apple's selling, right? It's like, oh, my screen's broken. They're like, well, you just buy this new $1,000 iPhone, and you can take any parts off that you want. And as long as you do it, exactly to our specification, it won't void your warranty or electrocute you to death. All right, Level Remix is here. Look, we got enough. The core crew is here, and I think we have a quorum, Lewis. So let me queue up who. Even if LK is not here, the one person we can't do the show without. I think you all know her. Most of you like her. It's Mrs. D. Where's that cute little Katie? Well, he's not here, Mrs. D. We think he might have passed away. Oh, that's so sad. Like last time. Yes, tries to go out, have a good time, and sometimes it leads to his death. But they usually are able to resurrect him, so I think he'll be back soon. That's good to hear. Are you ready to get this show on the road? I sure am. Let me get my notes queued up here. We'll get the music started. We have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about, and then we can get this thing rolling. Are you ready, Lewis?
Oh, so ready. Get my finger out of my eye.
Very excited. Very excited readiness there. Okay. All right. Let me queue up everything, and we will get this show rolling. Hello, and welcome to CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Airfun Elijah. Joining me today, he's like the Mac Mini of tech editors, compact but powerful. Cute, but he packs a punch, especially if your Cult of Mac story is late. Watch out. He's the managing editor of Cult of Mac. Lewis Wallace is here.
It's a M1 Mac Mini, right? Not the Intel one.
What's that?
M1 Mac Mini.
You're the
Not
M1
Intel.
Mac Mini. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Extra strength,
Okay.
compact but powerful. I mean, I basically said all that stuff. So for those of you just joining us, LK's not here. He might be dead. I'm not sure. I can't say that he's not dead, but he seemed like he had to attend something really urgent. So he's not going to be joining us for this show or possibly for the rest of his life, but hopefully he'll be back next week.
He's on a secret mission at a warehouse somewhere in the East Bay. He's right now operating a forklift.
Yeah, they're like, look, dude, you got to come get these Cult of Mac books out of here, because if you don't, we're literally going to throw them away. So he's in there forklifting the Cult of Mac books around, but his overstock is your gain, because he's got to. I told him he was actually nuts to do this, because he wants to start selling these Cult of Mac books. This is the version 2.0 book, right?
Second edition.
The second edition, sorry. And he's selling them for $10 each. It's a hardbound book, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's a coffee table book. It's like 224 full color pages.
And when you open it, it looks like. Do I have a copy of it here, or do I have? No, I don't have a copy because he never sent me one. But do I have a link to this here somewhere? Oh yeah, here it is. We can show it off to people, because it also, when you open it up, it looks like a MacBook Pro. Like the interior design is actually really, really smart. I could barely believe that it came from the mind of LK. Here we go. I was clearly you didn't design this,
you open it
LK.
up, there's a keyboard.
There it is. Yeah, you open up the front page, and the inside cover looks like a screen, and the first page looks like a keyboard. So this is a collectible item, I think. And he's selling these for $10. He's got a whole warehouse full of them, and he's like, I've got to get rid of these Cult of Mac books. There's too many, and we're going to have to just start chucking them. So the original price is $35, and you can get one right now. I'm not sure how long the sale is going to go. For $10, $9.99. Now, do we have where do they buy these, Lewis?
You buy them here. I'll give you a link.
Yeah, okay. Is there a link that's easy to remember, or should I just say there's going to be a link in the show notes?
No,
Yeah.
there's not.
What was he thinking? He should have come up with the memorable link. So I'll put a link in the show notes if you guys want to check it out. I'll post something here in the chat if you guys want to check these out. But $10, 10 buckaroos. That's a crazy good price. If you are an Apple fan or you know someone who is, this would be a really great Christmas present, Hanukkah gift, Kwanzaa item, you name it.
I mean,
yeah,
it's moderately memorable URL. nostarch.com/cultofmac2e.
I wouldn't even call that to be a moderate, to be honest with you.
It's the 2E for second edition.
Okay, I've already forgotten it.
Yeah.
Because
NoSearch.com/cultofmac2E.
All right, that's not that bad when you say it 2 or 3 times. NoSearch.com/cultofmac.
It's hilarious. The you can either buy the ebook for $7.98, or you could buy the print book and get the free ebook for $9.99. I think it's worth the extra $2.
Oh yeah, this is not an ebook book. This is a it's a piece of art. It's an
great.
artifact. It's an artifact of memorabilia. You don't want to have this digital. No way.
And it's
full of great pictures.
I mean, obviously the reason it's on sale right now, perfect gift.
Yeah.
You could buy a rack of these things. Give one to everyone you know that is into Apple. If you're not familiar with the book, the whole book. This is the second edition, as mentioned. The first edition came out a while ago. I don't have the date at my fingertips, but this one added to it. It's all this information about people who love Apple collectors, museums around the world that have all this vintage Apple gear, interviews with all these people. It's a really awesome book, written by Leander and David Perini. Just loaded with stuff and great, as you're saying, great pictures and great design. It's really something.
Yeah, and honestly, for $10, a hardbound book. I'm sorry to keep going on and on about this. But I told Leander, I'm like, you're letting them rob you, Leander. This should be minimum $20. There's no way. The shipping on this has got to be like $4 or $5.
I was shocked by he's going to
crazy.
send it out to book mail, fourth rate.
It will.
Order now to be here by New Year's Day.
2025. It will be here when they launch the Apple Car. Your CultCast book will be arriving. No, it's not quite that slow. If you order now, you'll definitely get it by Christmas. But I wouldn't wait too much longer because everything takes longer around this time of year. So anyway, we'll post a link in the show notes, and it's in the chat already. And also, I gotta say thank you to Squarespace for supporting this episode. Squarespace.com/CultCast. Squarespace, I don't even know how long they've been with us. Maybe 8 years. I honestly don't even know how long we've been doing this show. It might be getting close to 10 years. February 24th is our anniversary, I think, when we first launched. And I honestly have no idea. We've been doing this show so long. And like when you get older, like you're like someone asks you how old you are and you're like not actually sure anymore.
Right. Yeah,
that's how I'm feeling about this show.
Not good. I'm sure, did you or did you not start like when you first did one, like, scratch a line on the wall, like one of those prison things where you keep
I'm not
track,
even in the same house. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it is very similar to being in a prison. I will give you that. But I'm not even in the same house. I've probably moved at least once, possibly twice, since I started the CultCast. I used to do it in a basement of a house that I rented, and then I built this big, beautiful Cult command center on my property that's patrolled by motorized turrets with AI programmed by assistants in New Delhi. I mean, there's all sorts of technology. Chickens. I have rabid chickens here, which will attack you if you come on the premises. I mean, there's all sorts of security in place to keep our number of fans away. But I like all you guys. If you come on my property, you're going to get blasted by the turrets. You should just know that. I like you all from 100 yards or more. We have snipers in the building. I mean, there's just, security everywhere. But thank you to Squarespace for making what we do possible. Squarespace.com/CultCast. If you want to build a website, if you've just been lazy, some people are just lazy. And they listen to me do this spot every month. And they do nothing. And nothing in their life has changed. But you're like, you know what? It's almost 2022. Apophis is on the way. I got to do something before that strikes. Google it, Lewis. Google it. Apophis.
Giant space rock.
Space rock is incoming, guys. And it's time to do something to improve my business, improve my prospects of getting a job. Maybe you are graduating from college and you want to promote your skills online. In fact, I was involved in some interviewing lately, and one of the people that we were talking with had a portfolio online. I was like, dude, this is great. You can just see everything that's going on. That's super valuable. It puts you above everybody else because it adds personality to your name on a piece of paper. And so anything that you can do to promote yourself in that respect is good. But you can also build all sorts of monetizable services. You can sell products and services of all kinds. You can charge people to be part of a community or book your time. all with a Squarespace website. And it's all included, and it's easy to use. So if you're ready to get a website up and going, try the free trial, squarespace.com/cultcast. Build a website, see how you like it. And if you want to continue your service after 2 weeks, you can use code CultCast at checkout. You'll get 10% off your first order. If you do a year of service like I do, you get an additional discount, so it ends up being a really great deal. Squarespace.com/cultcast. Okay, Lewis, I'm going to do something that you love. I'm going to talk about specs.
Whoa!
Baby.
I just set a timer. I'll be back in 10.
Just can you just freeze frame of you smiling, and I'll just pop to you every once in a while. It looks like you're smiling in agreement. I won't go too in depth on this, but man, shout out to Max Tech. So Max Tech is a reviewer on YouTube, and they just dive into benchmarks. I mean, I've been following Max Tech since he was at Apple Insider. Max Yuriev, and then he branched out. He started his own channel, Max Tech, and I remember when he did that, I was like, oh, dude, he's making the move. And they do comparisons on all sorts of like Apple stuff and other gear too, but they're kind of like Apple focused, and they just put things through benchmarks, everything. And it's just way more patient than I could ever be. I'm like, I just want to use it for like 2 hours, then tell you what I think, and they're like, hey, let's actually do this and give people actual verifiable results, not just our pointless opinions. So he did a video this week that you should go watch. I will post a link in the show notes and in the chat if you guys want to watch this whole thing. It's a great video. And the premise of the video is a 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro versus $15,000 Mac Pro. Now, you already know where I'm going with this, okay? You already know where I'm going with this. So I'm just going to highlight some of the benchmarks that he did just to show you how unbelievably powerful the MacBook Pro is, the new one with the M1 Max, okay? So I thought we could do that, and then we'll also talk about this Apple Car story that just came up today, that Apple is indeed building an Apple Car, and it looks like they were working on 2 different tracks of cars. One was going to be fully autonomous, and one we'll get to all that. And then we'll wrap up with an all-new what we're into, because I got this new show that I've been watching that I started off not really super hot on, and now I'm addicted to it, and I'm trying to watch all of it as fast as I can. So we'll do all that. But let's just dive into this first story here. So we have a Max Tech video. Am I still on it? Yeah, I am. And he's comparing a MacBook Pro. Let me get the specs here so that we know what we're talking about. It's a $3,500 MacBook Pro with the M1 Max. Okay, so 3.2 gigahertz, 10-core CPU, 32-core GPU, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, versus the formidable, God, look how beautiful that thing is, the Mac Pro, right? Mac Pro, his cost $14,800, 3.6 gigahertz, 12-core Xeon. He has the Vega 2 GPU with 32 gigs of RAM, and 192 gigabytes of RAM for the system, which is insane. He has 1 terabyte SSD and the $2,000 Afterburner card, okay?
Wow.
So he's got this thing spec'd out. So where are we with this? Let's talk about Geekbench first, right? The standard Geekbench score. So in the single-core score, the $15,000 Mac Pro scored a 1,119. The 16-inch M1 MacBook Pro, 1775. The MacBook Pro was 58% faster, and it is, what, 1/5 of the cost? Okay.
Oh, my God.
Now you're like, okay, dude, I expected that, but what about multi-core? Because that's really where a machine like the Mac Pro would pull ahead, right? Because it's 12 cores. It should be faster. Multi-core performance. The Mac Pro scored a 12,519 in multi-core. The 16-inch MacBook Pro scored a 12,602. So the Mac Pro was indeed faster, but only by a hair, just like a hair's edge. And it's 5 times more expensive. Okay? Let's talk about the metal test. So, metal test, the $15,000 MacBook Pro has the Vega 2 GPU card. It scored a 100,000. MacBook Pro scored a 68,000. So the Mac Pro was faster in this test, 48% faster. So as you would expect, discrete graphics still blew away the MacBook Pro. But it's also, 5 times more expensive. Here's an interesting test that affects everyone. Speedometer test, right? So speedometer is a web browsing test. The $15,000 MacBook Pro did the test and got a 137. Higher score is better, by the way. The 16-inch MacBook Pro got a 272. MacBook Pro is 98% faster in everyday browsing. Okay?
Wow.
Let's talk about Blackmagic SSD tests. The 15-inch MacBook Pro got a score of 2969. That's its write speed, so 29,069 megabytes per second. MacBook Pro got a 5735, so 5,735 gigabytes or megabytes per second write speed. Excuse me. So the MacBook Pro, 93% faster. Let's talk about Cinebench 3D rendering. God, I'm scrolling through this really bad, aren't I? Let's go back to our faces. MacBook Pro in the Cinebench test, the Mac Pro Cinebench. So this is 3D rendering, right? Okay. MacBook Pro got a 12,322. The Mac Pro got a 14,212. So the Mac Pro was faster, 15%. But it was drawing 208 watts, and the MacBook Pro was drawing only 30 watts. So huge, huge increase in power consumption. Not to mention, and I forgot to mention this, the MacBook Pro was performing all these tests on battery power. So the Mac Pro is plugged in, the MacBook Pro is operating on battery power, and it's still smoking the Mac Pro in all these tests. We're about to talk about Final Cut Pro. I know that's what most people would probably care about. Let me touch on Logic real fast. Logic tests. So in these Logic tests, they were comparing how many tracks they could add before things started getting all weird. The Mac Pro was able to handle 215 tracks, and the 16-inch MacBook Pro was able to handle 181 tracks. So you can see the Mac Pro did win this one significantly, and you would
Only
expect
180 tracks.
Yeah, probably more than you need. I know you like to make complex tracks where you're singing all the different parts yourself, Lewis, and doing the drums with your mouth and stuff.
Very much like Freddie Mercury.
Let's talk about Xcode real fast. Xcode test. The $15,000 MacBook Pro got a score of 125. By the way, this test was developed by Max Tech. It's like an Xcode compile. The $15,000 MacBook Pro, or Mac Pro, did the test in 125 seconds. The MacBook Pro, 94 seconds. So the MacBook Pro was 33% faster. Now you can see why Uber and Twitter and everyone are buying these machines and deploying them, throughout their entire organization. Okay. Now you might think that the 28-core Mac Pro would perform much better since it's more than double the cores of the one that Max Tech was looking at. They tested that, and where the 12-core Mac Pro got a score of 125, the 28-core got a score of 90 seconds. So it was slightly faster than the 94 seconds of the MacBook Pro, but this machine is $28,000, and it's basically the same performance for Xcode. Okay, let's just move down to. Oh, actually, I should mention this one other 3D rendering test with SplashFox. So you would think that the Mac Pro would smoke the MacBook Pro because it has discrete graphics, and it has the $2,000 Afterburner card, right? In the SplashFox test, the $15,000 MacBook Pro did the render in 33 minutes and 54 seconds. The MacBook Pro, 20 minutes, 62 seconds. So the MacBook Pro, which is almost the price as the Afterburner, it's almost the same price as just the Afterburner card in the Mac Pro, did the test 65% faster. And let's wrap up with these. Video editing. Now this is the one that I think most people are going to be interested in, right? So in the Final Cut Pro HEVC test, so this was stabilizing a 1-minute clip. Do I have that here? Oh shoot, I think I got the wrong one here. This is Final Cut Pro. This is a 5-minute 8-bit HEVC render. There we go. So lower score is better here. It's measured in time. The Mac Pro did the render in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The MacBook Pro did it in 1 minute 19 seconds. And if you're curious about Canon R5 footage, so for those of you that are familiar with like cameras and like video editing, you've heard of Canon R5's footage. It's just incredibly difficult to work with. In fact, when it first came out, most computers couldn't even handle it. I mean, you couldn't even watch it because it would just slow your system to a crawl. And these new MacBook Pros, well, they handle it much better than computers of old. So the $15,000 Mac Pro did this render. It was a graded piece of Canon R5 10-bit 422 HEVC. It did the render in 8 minutes and 21 seconds. MacBook Pro did it in 2 minutes and 5 seconds. I could go on, but suffice it to say, before I bore you all to death.
Wow.
Sorry, was that boring? I hope not. Suffice it to say that in most of the tests, the MacBook Pro either broke even with the Mac Pro or totally smoked the Mac Pro in almost all the tests. I mean, it was so bad that it kind of makes me think that there's probably only really niche circumstances where you would want a Mac Pro at this point, because the MacBook Pro is cheaper, lighter, faster, and
comes with a screen.
And it comes with a screen. That's a great point.
My God, that Mac Pro is only 2 years old.
I know.
Not even.
And it seems like it's woefully outdated at this point.
It's just, you hear those numbers and it's just like, I kept waiting for you to like come up with like the 3 or 4 that are like, oh, it's completely blown away by the Mac Pro, but it just
there were a couple.
happened. There were a couple slightly better. I mean, you would hope it would be. I mean, try putting it in your backpack.
Well, you'd have to have one of those hiker backpacks, right? Where you're going to be going on the Pacific Crest Trail or something. You have to put that in there.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if anyone else finds this stuff interesting, but as a huge Mac fan, I know everyone's more excited about iPhones, but as one of the holdout Mac fans who just really loves Macs, I just thought this was incredibly exciting. Like the fact that you can buy a machine for $3,500 that outperforms this unbelievably beautiful and thoughtfully engineered piece of hardware, and it just blows it away. And in all these practical purposes, the thing that makes me, what I think about is maybe there are really specific scientific scenarios where the Mac Pro might actually still be faster in some ways, but Final Cut Pro, Xcode, I'm going to guess Photoshop, although that wasn't tested here. In all these different situations, the MacBook Pro just blew it out of the water. Just wasn't even close. And the crazy thing is if a MacBook Pro with the M1 Max is this fast, imagine what the Mac Pro with the M1 Max is going to be like. So like the rumors are that it's going to be like an M1 Max Duo. So they'll put like 2 in there or 4 in there, or, they'll just stack up the chips. And so you'll have the performance of multiple M1 Max chips all in one machine. It's going to be like that TDK commercial. You know what I'm talking about, Lewis?
Yeah, the guy sitting on the couch.
Sitting on the couch and his hair just gets blown back. So, yeah.
What was their response in the video as they were, finding these things out? I don't know. I didn't watch the video, but
utter disbelief and great sorrow, because so Max Tech bought this Mac Pro, I think 2 years ago, and he's been trying to sell it, but no one will buy it. Now he lives in Eastern Washington. So Eastern Washington, for those of you that don't know, like west of the Cascades is where most people live in Washington State. You go east and it's like farmland and much more sparse geography. But he lives in a big city on the east side. It's like it's the biggest city on the east side of Washington. So you would think that he would at least be able to find some buyers in that big of a city. I mean, Spokane, I think, is where he's at. It's like the 100th biggest city in the U.S., right? So you should be able to find a buyer, but he can't. No one will buy it. Or they'll express interest, and he says this in the video, they'll express interest in buying it from him, and then they ultimately just say, yeah, I'm just going to get a MacBook Pro.
Why? I mean, why in the world would you? Why would you buy one?
I don't know.
I
honestly
cool.
couldn't answer that question. There probably is some scenario where the Mac Pro is faster, but I mean, this thing had 192 gigs of RAM. It had a $2,000 Afterburner card, and it had a 12-core chip versus a 10-core one in the MacBook Pro. So, and the efficiency gains in the new Apple Silicon are really totally insane. So there you go. I thought you guys might find that enjoyable. Don't buy a Mac Pro. Actually, you know what? Maybe you can find one for a song because people, I mean, these Mac Pros are the price of a nice car. And if someone is like, yeah, I think I'm going to just buy a MacBook Pro, maybe you can buy their old Mac Pro from them for like $5,000, $6,000. Like that actually might be a good deal. There you go, Lewis.
Jeez.
Slicked your hair back. I knew I would. Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about something that may be a little more exciting. It certainly seemed like it excited the stock market because my Apple stock, man,
Revved up.
it's got the pedal to the metal. Oh my goodness. I was waiting for this. Oh my goodness. It's almost at 160, Lewis. You really got to hype this car up. We need to get the stock up above 160.
Jeez. Oh boy.
I might need to sell and buy Bitcoin instead, but because my Apple stock's been doing a whole lot of nothing lately. But it is going up. I mean, it's almost 160. It's at record highs today. So I think the previous highest close was 156.69. 156.
69, dudes!
Had to do it. And now
boy.
it's at 157.87. So
Wow.
it jumped on today's story. I'll hand it back to you. Enough preamble.
Yeah, I mean, it's the headline of the day. Apple aims to build a self-driving car with no steering wheel.
So when the AI wigs out and you're grappling for something to control the car with,
Right.
there will be nothing there.
Hey Siri, take a left turn.
That's when you hear the wheels screech and it plummets you into
God.
5 lanes of traffic with oncoming diesel trucks.
Yeah, so Project Titan, the secret Apple car project, it's the on-again, off-again mother of all Apple rumors and latest twist. This is based on info from anonymous insiders. Said Apple is reportedly committed to making a car capable of driving completely autonomously. The new head of the project won't be satisfied with a vehicle with only limited capabilities, and that person is Kevin Lynch, Apple's VP of Technology, who took over Project Titan earlier this year. That's the guy who's basically responsible for the Apple Watch being what it is today, too.
Oh.
So they're saying that that this car might not need a steering wheel or pedals at all, but they might include them just in case there's a problem. And who knows? I mean, they might be forced to put them in just as
Because they can't actually make this work, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, regulators might force you to have one. I think in the article it said something about like there might be some sort of like other mode of controlling it in case of an AI problem. Anyway, so apparently there's a big internal struggle about which way to take the car. Should it be fully autonomous or not? And supposedly Lynch is dead set on now making a self-driving car, and they're saying that they would like to have this on the road by 2025.
That was what sent the stock into new territory.
That's 3 years from now, 3
Yeah.
or 4, just about 3. This report also taught, this is from Bloomberg, Mark Gurman, first big Apple car story we've had from a completely reliable source in a while. This story also sheds light on custom Apple silicon chips packed with neural processors to handle the complex self-driving tasks that are also supposedly well along in development. We couldn't stop talking about how great these chips are in the MacBook Pro, right?
Yeah.
So what if they put 10 of them in the car so that it actually is smart enough to drive itself? Yeah, I got to say, I was kind of stunned to hear this come up today. It's like I hadn't heard anything about Apple Car in a long time. It just sounds like
It kind of seemed like it was dead, honestly.
Well, I mean, they have made some key hires lately. They keep every now and then, like every few months. Oh yeah, they just hired somebody from Ford or Canoe or some other Tesla or something like that. Yeah, I mean, the thought of it actually being fully autonomous. I mean, I would love such a thing. I think a lot of people would. But I also am slightly terrified by it because sometimes I ask my phone to call, a friend and it starts playing a song by a band I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So little bit,
Imagine when
little bit nervy.
imagine what it's gonna do when you yell stop. It's gonna floor it. They took a sharp right off the overpass.
It could be dicey.
Yeah. This development, this story was definitely surprising because we've been covering this story forever, and there seems to be all sorts of ideas on what Apple is actually doing, but no one seems to know for sure. And so to hear that they have actually decided to make a fully autonomous car, or at least that's their goal. I mean, that's great news because before we heard, oh, they're going to be making software. We're not even sure they're making a car, where they've disbanded all the engineers from Project Titan. And meanwhile, it makes you wonder, like, how much of that stuff was actually true? Because now we have Gurman here saying that, according to his sources, it's actually moving along, and they are hoping to have a self-driving car on the road by 2025. That's actually a really appealing idea to me. I mean, if you could buy a car that would just drive you around and you didn't even have to worry about driving, it was like your own personal Johnny Cab from Total Recall, that would be pretty cool, just to get in and be able to do whatever you want as it drove you around town. It almost seems like science fiction to me. I'm not totally sure that they're going to be able to make this work. Tesla hasn't been able to make it work. It's funny, isn't it? Tesla's been selling the dream of self-driving cars for years, and they charge you like huge dollars to add self-driving hardware to your car. It's like $5,000 to $7,000. In fact, I think they just raised the price of it. And all these people are paying for this hardware with the hope that someday their car will be able to drive itself autonomously. And to me, it's always felt like it's years away. They keep saying it's right around the corner, but they've been saying that for like 5 years. And it doesn't seem like it's good enough to actually work. So I still feel like we're probably 2 or 3 years, maybe even longer, away from having a car be able to actually drive itself with no intervention. Because you got to think, it's got to be bulletproof, right? You can't have it be almost there. It has to work perfectly every single time, because if the car company creates a car that crashes and you die, that's going to be a disaster for their company. No one is going to buy that car anymore. And then they'll get sued left and right. So it's got to be completely bulletproof. But
it's weird. I mean, I drive a really old truck, and when I get a rental car or something, I mean, I'm always amazed, like, all the new things that they have, like I remember the first time this was years ago, driving a rental, just a Toyota, right?
Yeah.
Driving along, and I started to like drift out of my lane, and the steering wheel started shaking. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Safety feature. I was like, wow.
It's pretty cool.
Really, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that already exists and is out there, right? Like, you start to, make a merge into a lane that has another car in it, and like lights flash and stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's things like that that are already existing. They're awesome. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but already you can get in a Tesla and kind of, let it take you there, right? It's just that it's not 100% foolproof. But
yeah, I mean, technically, you're. I'm not sure they say that you're supposed to take your hands off the wheels. Like, they say, keep your hands on the wheels, but people don't, and I don't know how safe it is. But the other thing that always kind of irked me about the Teslas is, like, you're sitting there in front of the steering wheel and letting the car do its thing, and you don't. It's like one of those awkward situations where you're like, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with my hands. Like, what do I do? I just sit here like this, with my arms crossed, because the car is doing all this stuff, but all the controls are still there for you, so it feels like you're not supposed to be sitting there doing nothing.
Right.
So having a design where you're just in the back, in the caboose, getting loose while the car is driving you, that's pretty cool, man. I mean, especially if you could use it for Uber when you're not in it. We've talked about this before. Like, that's a cool future.
I just wonder if that'll even ever happen. I mean, the liability has got to be just outrageous, and I mean it. As much as the thing is, like, there are situations where you're like, you're so tired and you have to drive.
Yeah.
Which is safer, an autonomous car that's pretty good, or you who is about to fall asleep. And I mean, think about the potential for bar hopping, man. Just like, take me to the Four Deuces. I'm gonna go play some darts. That would be sweet.
Where you say, take me to the bar. And Siri says, stopping the car, and then slams the brakes on the freeway.
It throws you through the windshield.
You go flying out, then you get run over by like 6 semi-trucks.
God. I don't know. I mean, there are so many ways that it could be safer, without being fully autonomous. So who knows? And the other thing is, like, this is what they're shooting for, right? Like, so don't you think that maybe there's at least an element of this is the dream, we will accept, the dream minus XYZ. I mean,
Yeah.
I if anything, I bet they're just saying, let's shoot for the moon and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure they have contingency plans in place. Like, let's make this thing fully autonomous with no controls. But if we realize when we get close to our date to release to manufacturer, this is not going to work, let's just go with the model that's just like Tesla. It has a steering wheel, it has all the stuff. Maybe it's got some. Maybe there are no back seats. It's like behind the and no trunk. Like behind the driver's seat are these curved seats like you would have on a bus where people can like face each other on the sides and in the back and stuff. There'll be some kind of compromise there. But anyway, really exciting news just to hear that, yes, they are still working on this. Yes, it seems like they are on track for making an actual autonomous car. I mean, look, as cool as this is, I know you're not getting one. I'm not getting one. These things are gonna be like, I mean, it's gonna be a sporty car, I'm imagining. Well, maybe not. Maybe it will be a van. But even if it's an electric minivan, it's going to cost $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 with all this hardware in there, I think. They're gonna come out swinging, and then they're going to build the cheaper models, just like they did with the iPhone, just like they did with the MacBook Air, the Mac Pro
SE.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the SE edition. That's going to be
no leather interior.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to have aluminum instead of aircraft grade aluminum. Your car's going to be made from aircraft grade aluminum instead of like stainless steel, polished stainless steel. So if you crash, yeah.
They're going to have to swing for the fence for this, though. And so they're not going to solve a problem. If they'll never solve a problem they're not trying to solve, right? Like, if you're not trying to go for the fully autonomous, it's never going to happen. So I bet that's what it is. They're just saying, this is what we want to do. Let's see what we can make happen.
Well, I bet you it's more than that. I mean, if they're planning on manufacturing this thing, then they're going to have like manufacturing, plans in place to figure out what's going to actually go off to be made. So they probably have multiple tracks. God, it's so complicated. They probably have multiple tracks. Like, here's what happens in this situation. If not, here's our other contingency. Here's our other contingency. Like they did with the Apple Watch. So when they failed to materialize, they're like, we just have an updated version of the 6. It's literally the 6. We're gonna just call it the 7 and tell you it's the 7. All right, there's the Apple Car. Before we move on to this very cool story about Apple self-repair, let's give a quick plug for the giveaway, Lewis.
All right, same giveaway as last week. It's the Blue Shark gift card. It's a $100 gift card. We're giving away 3 of them, and if you're not familiar with Blue Shark, they make high-quality watch straps, and now they got a whole bunch of them for Apple Watch. They're colorful, beautiful-looking, variety of materials: leather, canvas, silicone, knit weave, and Cordura. I just love saying Cordura.
I could tell that you really enjoyed saying that word. I was enjoying the way you spoke it as well.
So we got 3 lucky winners. Get a $100 Blue Shark gift card to buy Apple Watch bands, and these bands are pretty reasonably priced. So if you win, you're going to get several. Go sign up now. Go to the Cult of Mac homepage. Scroll down to where it says giveaway. All you got to do is sign up for one of our newsletters, or follow us on Twitter, or check out. There's multiple ways you can enter. Enter early, enter often. Ends this weekend. Get your entry in now if you want a shot.
There you go. And as I always say, if you're not the type of person that enters themselves into potential giveaways, give it a shot. Just give it a shot. You might win. You just might win.
Somebody's got to
win. It could be you.
3 somebody.
It's not the lotto. That's all I'm saying is it's not the lotto. We're not getting, millions of people who are entering. So if you go in there and enter, you just might win it. And let me also give a quick plug. CultCloth.co. It's the high performance cleaning cloth for your tech, your lenses, your sunglasses. It's the one that Apple just ripped off. My high powered legal team, we're in discussions for a major lawsuit that's probably going to be coming down the pipes. I'm going to have Tim Cook groveling for mercy, and I'm going to have a permanent invite to the TC Thanksgiving Day celebration. I'm going to demand a seat to his right or his left, my choice, of course, because I'm taking him for everything he's got. But if you want a high performance cloth that does even more than the overpriced Apple cloth that they Sherlocked me on. Head on over to cultcloth.co and check out what we have available. You're gonna like what you see here. I guarantee it. We have the Cult Cloth Duo, which is a dual fiber design, and it's got short fibers on one side for cleaning your screens, and then long fibers on the other for getting into those like really down and dirty places. And the performance power on these is just absolutely insane. You can feel it working if you rub these across your fingertips. You'll actually feel the fibers grabbing onto your tips.
Are they overclocked?
They're overclocked, yeah, from the factory. Overclocked from the factory.
Overclocked and in stock, right?
They are in stock. We just got restocked, and my profuse apologies to people. We had some people waiting 2 weeks for their deliveries. I mean, we got slammed.
Wow, what is this, 1978?
I know. Well, we were not prepared when Apple came out copying our cloth. It just put this cloth into the public zeitgeist, and all of a sudden it made this a thing. And I've been trying to make this a thing for 5 years, and I did my best, but I don't have the power of TC's marketing department. And then when they came out with their version, and people were like, "Oh yeah," I was like, "I need a high performance cloth for my high performance," and then people just started flooding in. And of course, I was just taking their money as fast as I could, but we couldn't fill it for full orders as fast as we were getting them. So now we're caught up because things have slowed down some. So your order will probably go out within 2 or 3 days at this point, which is a lot better than it was for a while. Cultcloth.co, the original high performance cleaning cloth. I've been using these things for years. You won't believe how well they clean your devices, your glasses, your sunglasses, your lenses. I mean, you just wipe them across, and nothing is left behind but sparkling glass and metal. There's just nothing like them, which is why I sell them. Cultcloth.co. Okay. Enough about shirking products on the good people. Oh, was I even showing my website? I don't even think I was. Dope. Let's talk about the right to repair. This was another surprise story that came out this week. I'm sure that Kyle Wiens and let's see here. Where's my story? Where is it? I lost it.
Oh my God.
I blame this on you, Lewis. I don't know if I have this story ready. And Louis Rossman, they probably had to call the Cialis hotline when they heard about this story. There it is. Sorry about that. So if you didn't hear the news, Apple has suddenly come out and said, "Oh, the right to repair stuff that we have been fighting for years, we're going to let you do that now." And not only are we going to let you do this, we are going to actually support it with parts. So they have this new program called the Self-Service Program, okay, which will provide customers with the parts and tools they need to repair their own devices. It's a major shift in the company's hardware or approach to hardware fixes. The iPhone 12 and 13 lineups are the first to be supported, but will be soon followed by Mac computers powered by M1 chips, Apple said. The Self-Service Program launches next year in the U.S. and will expand in 2022. Let's see here. From Apple, this is from Jeff Williams. Creating greater access to Apple genuine parts gives our customers even more choice if a repair is needed. Oh, he's on board now, said Apple's chief operating officer. In the past 3 years, Apple has nearly doubled the number of service locations with access to Apple genuine parts, tools, and training. And now we're providing an option for those who wish to complete their own repairs. The new self-service program welcomes customers who are comfortable with completing their own repairs to obtain the parts and tools they need directly from Apple. You want a $65 screwdriver? Now you can get one. Initially, the program will focus on the most commonly serviced modules, such as iPhones, displays, batteries, and cameras. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Big Papa Earth, what about the warranty? Surely if I open up my iPhone, it's going to void the warranty. Well, here's the thing. Apple doesn't make any mention of it in the press release, but they talked to TechCrunch apparently. And TechCrunch is saying that carrying out your own repairs with genuine Apple parts won't void your warranty. I find that hard to believe, right? I mean, just because you have a part doesn't mean you know what to do with that part, but that's interesting. And, here's the catch. Quote, though you might void the warranty, I added that, though you might if you manage to further damage the product in the process of repairing it, which is possible. I don't know if you ever worked on an iPhone, but that is certainly possible. What do you think about this big news this week, Lewis?
Kind of shocking.
Kind of
We
shocking.
cannot wait to see the prices on the parts and the tools. But they're going to be giving manuals and stuff too, right? Like repair manuals.
Yeah, they're basically iFixiting the problem.
Yeah, they Sherlocked iFixit.
They did. They Sherlocked. First it was me, and now it's iFixit. They're going to be putting out manuals and parts on how to fix Android devices as well, I think. But this is a really interesting development, and I know a lot of people were really excited about this. I was too. I'm not sure I would personally want to attempt any repairs on my own because they are really time-consuming, and, I have fixed iPhones before.
Really?
It's not easy. Yeah, I mean, not professionally, but I've had broken iPhones that I've decided to fix before because it seemed like it was possible. And I have a technical acumen, Lewis. Don't sound so surprised.
What did you fix?
Oh, I fixed all sorts of stuff. You mean on an iPhone?
Yeah.
Or just generally speaking?
Yeah, on the iPhone. No, I'm not talking about a sandwich. I fixed a sandwich today.
Well, that's the extent of your skill set. I used to do brakes. I replaced my own radiator. I did all sorts of stuff, Lewis. Oh,
and on the iPhone, what did you do?
I replaced the radiator. I
Okay,
touched up.
right.
I turned the rotors. I don't remember. It was a while ago. I believe it was the screen that was cracked, and it was for my my wife at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And I wanted to impress her. I was like, darling, you don't have to send that to the Apple store. They're going to charge you $200. I'll do it for you.
Wow.
And you know what? I did. And that thing worked perfectly for the rest of its existence. So it is possible. And I think I might have used an iFixit guide. They're so in depth that it's just step by step. It couldn't be easier. I remember back in the day, you had to go on forums and try to figure out how to do repairs. That's what it was like fixing my BMW. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare that was, dude! If you could fix a BMW, you could fix an iPhone, no problem. I mean, if you ever want to get good at fixing something, just buy a BMW. You'll be a freaking master mechanic by the end of your 2-year stint with that POS. All sorts of weird, wacky stuff breaking. I mean, things that would never be a problem in other cars breaking on the BMW because the entire internals are like the toy grade plastic, from that you buy for your kids. From
Really?
Oh yeah, their entire cooling system, at least on the older generations. I don't know what they do now, but BMWs are not meant to last. Maybe they used to be,
Wow.
but their cooling system, the plastic on it was it was made from the same plastic that they make toy soldiers from, like that cheap injection molded plastic. It was literally the same stuff. And so, it's holding super hot liquid that is constantly getting hot, cooling off, getting hot. I mean, who does that? BMW does. And so it breaks. And so a lot of people, when they would buy their BMW, if you buy one used, if you're brave enough to do that or stupid enough, a lot of people would just go in and replace the cooling system before it ever had a problem, just so that they could avoid getting stuck on the road.
Wow.
So anyway, I digress. If you could fix a BMW, you can definitely fix an iPhone. And it looks like, now that Apple is making the parts more accessible, I imagine they're going to start making the repairs more accessible too, right? Like they may not glue things together because they have committed to selling the parts and making it so that you could fix things yourself if you're so brave. So I imagine now that user repairability is going to be an aspect that Apple might actually consider when they are designing their products, like an actual car. That'd be my guess.
Or they'll give
Here we
you
got the pessimist
instructions
here. Yeah.
that explain how difficult it is. And you read it and you go, well, I don't have the $400 part to, dislodge it from the, sea of glue and adhesive.
I don't think that's going to be the approach. Why would they go through all the hassle of making all the parts available only to discourage you from buying all those parts from them?
Do you think this is actually aimed at, average iPhone users, or do you think it's aimed at, Jimmy's tech repair shop down the street?
It will
Not
probably
an official Apple repair
It will
shop.
probably be both, but think about it from a profit motive perspective. Apple has all these companies that are buying third-party parts for the iPhone, and Apple doesn't make any money on that. So if they make the third-party parts available to anyone and they give you good guides, then this could actually be a great revenue stream for Apple because now more people will buy the replacement parts, and those parts are not going to be cheap, right? They're not going to be cheap.
Right.
If you break your screen, it's going to be the price to replace it is going to be, I'm going to guess, within 80% of the price that you would pay the Apple Store to replace it for you. It's going to be close enough that it's going to make you think, like, do I actually want to expend the effort to do this myself?
Right, and possibly destroy the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you that more than, well, I don't know. I'm sure this is going to look good, that they're facing some antitrust regulation around the world. This makes it look good. Oh, we're open to letting anybody do everything. We don't have this network of, tightly closed network of people fixing our phones and things. It's just another, I don't know. I'll be shocked if there's like a renaissance of people opening up their own iPhones at home with tweezers, $200 tweezers and $150, reverse torque screwdriver or whatever. But who knows? Maybe so. I don't, like, it never occurred to me that they would, for instance, re-engineer their phones so that they're more easy to repair. I mean,
yeah, talk about left field. Holy moly.
They're not going to do that. They're keep making them the same way they do. And, I mean, it's cool that they give you the option. I can't imagine myself wanting to spend my weekend, with
a soldering iron and an anti-static mat.
Magnifying goggles so I can see the tiny little parts. I mean, gee whiz. Take my money at the repair shop,
I know,
please. And do it right, and redo it if you do it wrong.
Yeah, you worry about it. Yeah, that's kind of
Please.
where I'm at now. I definitely don't have the time to mess with this stuff. So, but for those of you that are curious or that want to, now you have the option. And right to repair is a popular topic of conversation, and a lot of people wanted Apple to make this move and never thought they actually would, and certainly not in this way. So this is great news for everyone.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's cool they're doing it, and they also there's like there's some kind of problem, like if you took the display off, it would screw up Face ID, right? But they reversed that in the latest beta of iOS just this week too. So I mean, they're definitely making it more possible, and it's the right thing for them to do.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll ever take advantage of it, but what the heck.
Alrighty, well, let's move on to an all new what we're into. We got to wrap this up in 18 minutes, Lewis. I got a hard stop at 1:58. I'm hanging up on you, so let's get this cranking. This is a segment where we talk about stuff that may not be tech related, maybe something that we're watching. It's usually like something that we're watching, shows, movies, what have you, just something else talked about in the style of CultCast. So completely belligerently and usually inaccurate. But we're having fun. That's what matters, right, Lewis? So I'm going to send it over to you, Lewis. So what do you want to talk about for what you're into this week?
Yeah, well, I would talk about Dr. Brain,
Yeah.
the new show.
Yeah.
But I've only been able to see 2 episodes because they're dripping them out, like some kind of torture
I
test.
know you love that, too. Is that why you're wearing your Brain t-shirt right there? Is that a coincidence?
Not really, but I do like the show. The first 2 episodes that I've seen, great. I don't know if you've been watching it, but
Dr. Brain, is it on Apple TV?
It is on Apple TV.
I don't have Apple TV, but I'm thinking about it.
And it's a good one. It's a South Korean show. And,
oh, boy. Those South Koreans, man.
Yeah, neuroscientist who figures out a way to
connect
his brain.
You talked about this.
Yeah. So
they're preparing you for your Neuralink, your mandatory Neuralink.
Got to see it, and it's good. So, but since I could only watch 2 episodes of that, I had to get something else to watch during my workouts, right? So you know what I started watching?
No, I don't.
The Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit.
Have you heard of the Queen's Gambit?
I don't think I've even heard of it.
This came out last year. No, this is a Netflix miniseries because Netflix, they release everything at once. You can watch everything at once. But this one came out last year. To be honest, I heard about it. It won a bunch of awards. I've heard great things about it. Whatever. It's about chess, right? And I'm like, geez, chess really is. But actually, what it's about, it's about a young chess prodigy. Her name's Beth Harmon, and she's an orphan who ends up in this orphanage in the 1950s, and learns how to play. She
has an astonishing talent for chess.
Yes, and she learns how to play chess thanks to a grumpy old janitor. And it turns out she's a genius, brilliant chess player. She can map out moves in her mind, and since it's the 1950s and she's living in an orphanage, she also becomes a pill freak. They give the kids these downers to keep them docile.
That's not the way I thought you were going to go.
Anyway, I'm over halfway through it. It's a 7-episode miniseries. Great coming of age show. The actress who plays she gets to be like a teenager, I don't know, maybe young adult at this point.
Mm.
Anya Taylor-Joy. I'm not familiar with her work, but she's won a lot of awards for this role. She's great. She's kind of a feisty kind of socially maladjusted kid. Um, Great coming of age show. Interesting period drama. I love these things in like the 50s and the 60s. And they're like she's on flying on an airplane. She gets she is really good at chess. She goes, she's wiping everybody out in Kentucky where she grows up, and Cincinnati, and then she's flying to Vegas, and she's flying to Mexico City to participate in these big tournaments, and she's flying with her adopted mother. And her mom's getting like a martini on the plane in a glass martini glass.
Oh,
Like,
boy.
wow, that was the
Remember
golden
those?
age, man. I missed
Glasses, yeah.
it. And don't, if you're thinking about maybe watching or whatever, and you're thinking, I don't know about chess, whatever. The chess stuff is actually kind of fascinating. There's, they talk about different things like different moves and stuff. And apparently, chess players love it. Because it's actually
It's got the
action.
chess player crowd up in an uproar. They just love it. They love it.
But the chess stuff doesn't like overwhelm it. Just like Ted Lasso is about soccer, right? Or I'm sorry, football.
Right.
It doesn't overwhelm the thing. It's really a story about this young, feisty woman who's competing in this, basically all male world of professional chess. She at this point where I think I'm in like episode 5 or something, she's like facing off against Russians. The Russians are like the kings of the chess world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
does anyone say, "I will break you"?
No, but
That's a missed opportunity.
There is actually this one scene, and this is pretty cool. Yeah, so she's so into chess that she starts taking Russian lessons so she can speak Russian, right? And she's at this tournament, I think it was Vegas.
Oh, she's hearing them strategize, huh?
And she gets in. She's in an elevator, and these Russians get in, and they start talking in Russian about like, oh, she's only getting better and better. We need to take care of her now. It's a good show.
She caught some secret. He's like, I always move rook to 5 before I make final move. And she's like, he doesn't know she speaks Russian, so he outed himself.
Yeah, it's pretty.
All right,
pretty
Netflix,
good.
The Queen's Gambit. Check it out. I don't have Netflix, so I won't be watching this show.
No.
But, this weekend, I gotta watch. Dune. I think it stops streaming on HBO Max this weekend, so it's your final opportunity to check that out. And,
I hate the way they yank their shows off there. It should be on there forever. Come on.
I know. I will. I mean, they
It's
are
annoying.
doing instant releases, so I kind of get why they're doing it. It's cool that you can see a movie that just came out on HBO Max, but they also want to monetize the sales afterwards. So
why do they pull it? I don't. It's just
well,
weird.
they want to monetize sales. All right, the show I'm gonna talk about. I've talked about it a little bit before. It's called Snowpiercer, dude.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, this show started out, when I first saw this, so it's based on the movie Snowpiercer, the Netflix movie Snowpiercer, which was great.
Netflix?
It was Netflix, I think. Or it was on Netflix. That's where I saw it.
Well, it might have been on.
Okay, so that may have been where it was. But, and I don't know, is the creator of it Japanese or Korean? I forget the guy's name. But it has, I mean, it's just wildly creative and totally zany. And this show version is, I don't know if it's canon. It's a reimagining of Snowpiercer and the world of Snowpiercer. And so there are some elements of it that are different than the movie. I imagine that they're going to leave the canon be in the movie and are just going to have this be like a side adventure, even though it's like a retelling of the same story. But this show changes some really interesting dynamics about Snowpiercer. If you don't know the premise, I should probably describe that.
This is a nutty premise.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. So essentially, the world climate has gotten to be so cold that people can't exist anymore, and this really brilliant scientist or engineer creates this train called the Snowpiercer, where he essentially is going to bring on a selection of people and classes to maintain like an ecosystem on the train. And so everyone can live on the train, and the train is built with like this technology that makes it have like eternal fuel, so it can never run out of fuel. And a movie is an adventure of going through the different cars, because there's different classes of people, and some of them are like pissed that they're like in the lowest class, and they want to adventure up into the second and first class tier of the train. And the farther they go up, the more incredible like the lifestyle becomes of these people living on this train. And so the premise is kind of similar for the show, except I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't want to tell you what's changed. But if you like the original Snowpiercer, or if the premise sounds interesting, you should definitely check out the show. It's on HBO Max, and it's just like this, the last remnant of Earth existing on this train. There's different classes. People are fighting for resources. And it takes place in a world where if the train crashes or if anyone leaves the train, they're instantly killed because it's just so cold outside. And the first two episodes I saw, I was like, I don't know. I don't know about this. It got a little weird, and the CGI was like really goofy, bad, almost like I Am Legend bad. I don't know if you saw I Am Legend, but the CGI in that was truly laughable. And the first season, the first 2 episodes of the first season were really bad from a CGI perspective. But as the show went on, I was like, man, I'm kind of liking what they're doing with the show, and they're building up to some major cliffhangers. And people are like, there's like revolution on the train. People, like the different classes are fighting over the different resources and power, and all of this is taking place on this train that like they have to keep it on the tracks. They have to keep the train running because it's the last remnant of humanity on Earth, and they're bombing through this this snow-covered world, and the train goes around a track that encompasses the whole world. So every time they go through one of these, every time they cross the boundary of where they started, it's called a revolution, and they have to keep the train going because the engine that runs keeps all the energy and the heat and everything going for everything else that happens on the train. And it's really good. And the thing that I don't like is season 3 is about to come out. In fact, it's going to come out in a couple months. But season 2 is still not available on HBO Max. I thought it was. So I started watching it, and I got to the end. I was like, oh, man. It was one of those last-minute binges where it got so good I had to like stay up super late to finish it. And then I did it, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen in season 2? So I go to look. It's not there. HBO Max still doesn't have it, even though season 2 came out like almost a year ago. I think maybe over a year ago, and it's still not on HBO Max. So,
jeez.
Let's see here. Adam Broussard. Oh, they're talking about TikTok.
No.
I could do a whole episode on TikTok. Sounds like Polar Express, but for adults. Yeah, I never saw that, but
jeez.
The imagery is Jason Audrey. That show blows. You know what? I'm not gonna argue with you.
Which one? Snowpiercer?
I think he's talking about Snowpiercer. Yeah. That's what I figured. Yeah, I think he is talking about Snowpiercer. It is weird, man. Like the first 2 episodes, I was like, come on, this is totally unbelievable, and like it felt really contrived, and it felt like they were trying to manufacture conflict. But then it started getting good towards the end, and it stars Jennifer Connelly, who's like a high-profile actor. I was like, what is she doing in this? But she adds a lot towards the end of the show that is really interesting. All right, guys. Look, we could talk about more shows. We got no time. We have to go to El Caney's memorial service. So I'm going to go ahead and start the music. I have to write out my thoughts and well wishes on the card, for his family. So let's go ahead and wrap it up there. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. If you want to come tell us what your favorite shows are, I would love to hear those. We're both on Twitter. I'm at Erfon, ERFON. Who's that? Lewis Wallace. I almost spelled it. This has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. Well, thank everyone for listening. A very merry Adam Broussard. Don't even ask Lewis. I'm not going to say nothing about it. And we'll see you guys next time. Do you want some more Dr. Disrespect? You want a firm handshake, Lewis?
You know what I want?
You want me to say
order
Raoul?
Whoa. No? I'm going to go order a copy of Cult of Max 2nd edition for $9.99 before they sell out.
You better do that quick. I hear those Cult of Max books. There's nothing better for steadying a table, getting your fireplace going.
And there's only one warehouse left full of them, so,
really?
Time is of the essence.
Oh, you should have mentioned that. Only one warehouse left of the Cult of Max books. Get them now, guys. Get them while they're hot. If the world climate changes and the whole world freezes over, you might need those to keep your family warm. And at that price, at $10 a book, it's cheaper than buying wood. A cord of wood is going to cost you more than that.
I hear one of those will burn longer than one of those Duraflame things too.
It's like a Duraflame one. Just glow. The embers will keep your family warm for hours. All right. That joke has died on the vine. I'm hovering towards the end stream button. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll catch you guys next week.